It was 2007. The world was a bright place full of bunnies, rainbows, and Vladimir Putin. Yes, things were good. And then, looming out of the shadows it came, the great Big Daddy of video gaming history that would change the way first-person shooters would be viewed forever. I can still hear the screams of the fanboys as they tore the haters limb from limb. Any who opposed the new video game regime would be eliminated. No one could stop the wave that was coming. But who cares? It was the most artistically done, influential, and innovative game of its time.
I hated it. It was the worst thing to ever happen to games since the advent of Pong. I loathe it. I have so much hate for it that if you sprawled out my entire compilation of video games since the NES era and multiplied that by the amount of times you've spoken in run-on sentences, it would still be an inconsequential fraction of the amount of hate I have towards... It was okay. It was okay.
People flocked to it like so many moths to a flickering LCD monitor. New fuel was brought in the form of Bioshock 2, though not a product of its original creators, the fans took it all the same. And they were content. And the world was at peace. And then suddenly, sick of having their game take place in a fish tank designed for the uppity-up bourgeoisie of society, 2K Games decided to place their game in the sky, give it a cross-religious, cross-patriotism twist, forego explanations of how this would impact air travel, and call it Bioshock Infinite. Some loved it. Some hated it. Survival aspects were stripped in favor of gung-ho action heroism. Short of a few core mechanics, really, there was little justification for why the game would even really be considered part of the same franchise. Call a Big Daddy by any other name, but would it not yet still be Mr. Bubbles? The attempt to shoehorn in these mechanics into the new environment worked about as effectively as a shake weight in the hands of a seal, and its linearity contributed to the fear of the consoleization of modern games. Some also criticized its plot, though admitted it was very well crafted, ended up being little more than a cop-out due to the introduction of a bunch of alternate universe mumbo-jumbo. Now, 8 months down the pipe, and Bioshock Burial at Sea, Bioshock Infinite's long-awaited DLC, has arrived and takes the player back to the city of Rapture where it all began. Is it worth the trouble? Let me ask my man in the field. Hey, Ethan! For those that played the original Bioshock Infinite, if you haven't, then I question the motives behind your purchasing habits, the intro to Burial at Sea may seem a little bit familiar. You still play as Booker DeWitt, and your number one parent on the shoulder is still Elizabeth, although this time everything is presented as a sort of film noir. An interesting direction to take, though even the most deprived barhound trapped in an alcohol-induced stupor knows that this DLC exists for an opportunity to see Rapture the way it was meant to be. Alive, without all the frolicking, soulless children wandering around sucking the life juices out of corpses.
Yes, the denizens of Rapture have never been more alive.
Probably has something to do with that pretty petty formula they clearly robbed from SpongeBob. You can spend a good hour frolicking through Market Square, the plot exposition segment of Burial at Sea. Some of the citizens have insights into the story and can help you better grasp the conditions of Rapture before its descent into madness.
If we were all made from common clay, then Einstein would have remained a patent clerk. It's our responsibility to strive.
Hear, hear.
Some of the citizens are so happy they'll laugh. And then say nothing else. Some of the citizens even go to so much trouble as to exclaim their favorite word to you.
Booker.
Yes, boogers, that's a conversation I could get behind. Please, go on. Conversations don't work if you only say one word. Clearly, some elements of the game didn't take top priority. People want this DLC mostly for the plot content. If NPCs aren't saying anything useful, they should at least try and convince me that they aren't just there to look pretty. And when I say that Market Garden is a plot exposition segment, I mean it. For the average player, this game will probably run you about 3 hours of playtime if you're going at a fairly leisurely pace. What you get is a very heterogeneous product. Cohesion is not the order of the day here. This is due to 2K's desire to separate the game's elements into roughly an hour-long opening segment of exploration and story building.
I don't want to open my mouth for fear of what foolishness might tumble out.
Followed by a 1 to 2 hour period of solid gameplay. If you like Bioshock's story and didn't like the gameplay, you wouldn't miss much if you stopped after the first hour of playing. Herein lies the critical issue with this approach. The division of the two game elements draws a very glaring, laser-hot beam of scrutiny on the gameplay of Burial at Sea. The problems inherent here are that very little is actually any different. Booker can still, at times, be a binge drinker who robs people blind of all their champagne. Hello? Hello? Sure, I'll drink that. None of them seem to really care about their alcohol that much. What is this, the Prohibition?
Where alcohol?
Their alcohol.
You saw nothing, Picard. Go back to your holodeck. Many of the weapons are still the same. The plasmids, previously known as Vigors, are mostly copy-pasted from Bioshock Infinite, with the exception of one new Vigor. There it is. Makes things cold. I needed something to make me feel warm, so I made an ice sculpture, a fire. Now I'm not so cold anymore. Apparently, the design for this Vigor was actually fan-made. Pretty well done, I'd say. I mean, look at that face. Nothing says, I'm going to imprison you in a Sub-Zero personalized human-sized coffin like a cheery old blue guy. Oh look, Booker's finally in the Christmas spirit. Keep it up, old buddy.
Are you still gonna be able to shoot straight?
Guns are pretty much in the same boat. Just a bunch of replicas of their Bioshock Infinite selves with the inclusion of one new weapon known as the radar range. If you like the idea of taking your enemies and stuffing them in a microwave for 15 minutes just to see what would happen, this is the gun for you. Disclaimer, please don't stuff people in your microwave. It will make them like you significantly less. One improvement made to the system in Bioshock Infinite is the allowance of carrying more than 2 guns at a time, a sort of return to form for the original Bioshock. This would be a blessing. Granted, you can figure out exactly how to go about accessing the weapons. The menu system in Bioshock Infinite has always been needlessly confusing, and well, honestly, figuring out how to access the weapon wheel is about as intuitive as blow-drying the snow off your driveway. I didn't actually realize that I could even use other weapons until around 2 hours in, by which point I'd already exhausted myself trying to get through fights on nothing but my Magnum and shotgun ammo. This is when I employ my run towards the bullets and punch them mode. For those playing games along at the home, to change your guns, you hold the E key. That's right, the E key. I know, it makes a lot of sense. I remember this, it's the Sky Hook or the Air Grabber. Did I get sued by Sky Vodka or something? The new name doesn't exactly make much more sense. I mean, come on, did they even try? There's not really even any air down in Rapture. I mean, there is, but there's not, it doesn't work. Most people remember these things ran on the rails of Columbia so that the UPS delivery boy, Jobias, could get his packages to all the little boys and girls on Cloudberry Avenue. But here, unless the UPS delivery guys also did occasional circuit-based drag races, I'm not buying the practical application of these things being present in Rapture. An additional irritation is the inability to keep more than one active save file at a time. I mean, look at this. I had to go deal with an emergency when I was recording. The reliance on checkpoints and autosaves forced me in a position of needing to just leave the game running or risk losing my progress. So the systems have a few kinks, making the transition into the new setting. The game still runs great though. What is wrong with their faces? Ethan, bring the flamethrower! For the most part, the game runs very smoothly and with few bugs to speak of, though in some cases a few shine through the cracks. Come on, Elizabeth. Come on. Get out of the... This is why you aren't allowed to leave the tower, Elizabeth. You're just trying to spite me now, aren't you? Here, I wanted to go back and get some lockpicks that I knew I missed on my pass through the lower level of a combat area. So I went back the way I came, through a loading door, collected the lockpicks, and on my way back, this happened. Yes. That door isn't going to open. Ever. Eventually I discovered there was an elevator you could take to backtrack. But that still shouldn't mean that the old way suddenly becomes unusable. What? 7:30? I gotta go fast. Oh man, almost forgot the keys. What? No! I just used this door. How can this be locked?
I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Timbertaft. That is no longer the way. This is the real exit now. It is better this way.
No, no.
You must. This way. Go the right way, Timbertaft. You will fail if you don't.
The game does end on a bit of a cliffhanger that leaves a bad taste in my mouth, mostly because it dips into the whole alternate universe mumbo-jumbo malarkey thing. But I forgive it for the most part since I know that all the questions raised will hopefully be answered in the next episode. If not, well, that's another rant for another time. If you like Bioshock Infinite, you'll like this DLC.
Okay.
If you like Bioshock 1, you might like this DLC.
Alright.
If you didn't like either of those, well, honestly, then I don't even know why you're still watching this.
Aww.
In fact, I sincerely believe that...
It's not over, Timbertaft. I'm still open to further discussion.
Shut up, door.
Fine. If this is the way it's going to be, I'm leaving.
Jesus, this is embarrassing.
Could you maybe come over here and, well, slam me for me?
I am a teacup, short and stout. Here is my ladle, here is my stout. Oh.